Se oye el rumor de un pregonar que dice así: la negra bella llegó, llegó. Negra, con tu desrizado, your big rolos under the dryer, you know, pa' ponerte fina, and your scalp's already scabbing up. With your 10 to 20 moños and the different color bolitas, y tu mamá arrancándote el frente con todo. But you better not complain, porque el que quiere moño bonito, aguanta jalones. Negra, with your pelo malo, tu nariz ancha, your brown skin like carbón, staying at the sun pa no ponerte más prieta, and not yet understanding that being pretty for morena is actually an insult and not a compliment, and being taught que tu hombre ideal debería ser blanco o claro, rubio. Y no pare con lo prieto, arregla la raza. Bueno. Tiñe tu pelo, wear those colors, and stand your ground, porque, oye, tú tienes más tumbao que cualquiera, más que esa y ella, más azúcar que un bizcocho de 3 leche. Oye, royalty flows in our blood, we glow as el sol baila los palos on our cheekbones. Our history embedded in every inch of our café con leche, café negro, pero siempre con un de azúcar, y recuérdate, negra, el sol te amó tanto a ti que te besó a ti más que los otros.
Yes. Yes, Shareé.
Hello,
Yes. And that was Negra Bella.
Yes,
by
Negra Bella.
Shareé Yveliz, one of our 2 guests. Also, we are joined by Zulekha Maria Foulen.
Hi, hola.
And this podcast that you're listening to was made available through the gracious support of the Canada Council for the Arts, through the International Residencies Program, and of course, the amazing organization Mi Gente, Mi Pueblo,
Mi gente, mi pueblo.
that has brought us all together. So for those of you listening to the podcast, this is second season. The first one was La Raza BIPOC Access, and now we're venturing on to a second season. And I am Spin El Poeta. I'm here through the residency with Mi Gente Mi Pueblo, as I stated earlier, in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I have an organization, a for-profit business known as One Mic Educators. It's an arts education company. And one of our principal objectives is building immigrant indigenous friendship, but also honoring, the healthy, bountiful African diaspora that we have outside of the continent in Latin America. And this episode specifically has been very special to me because if you're Latino or Latina or Latina, you know of the anti-Black racism that exists in spite of that diaspora. So I'm very honored to have both of you here today for our episode. When I wrote the grant, I specifically wanted to do a La Raza episode down here for the podcast. And having met you, Shareé, last year at Movida and seeing the performance, and then seeing you, Zulekha, connecting with Shareé, and you being the strong Afro-Latin contingent within Mi Gente Mi Pueblo. Very important for me to utilize the resources and this opportunity to raise the visibility and dedicate this episode to Afro-Latinidad.
Absolutely.
So if we could start off, Shareé, with sharing with us who you are, your art practice or practices, and why this topic of Afro-Latinidad is critical to our community.
Absolutely. So, La Negra Bella llegó.
Yes.
My name is Shareé Yveliz. I am the founder of Viva La Negra. Multi-hyphenate in all the ways. I'm an artist, author, poet, creative director, photographer. The list goes on. If it's hands-on, I can probably learn how to do it. Topics like this are so important to me, just with my identity, my growing up, what I felt I was missing. In terms of just like, I'm surrounded by this culture. I know that it exists. How are you denying me this experience? And that really is what also brought me to Viva La Negra as a whole. And going back to the comment that I made, I do it for me, for you. Like, I needed this. But I know that if I did, I'm sure other people do as well. And that's how I really move in my artistry, and anything that I do is just kind of that mindset. If I needed it, I'm sure someone else did. And I'm very vulnerable. I believe that vulnerability will set you free, and that helps me as well. Just continue doing what I'm doing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we also have here Zulekha Maria Foulen, an Afro-Panameña.
Yes.
And if you could share with the audience, who you are, your art practices, and why the topic of Afro-Latinidad is critical in our community.
Yes. So again, Zulekha Maria Foulen. Some people call me Sule. Some people call me Z. But yes, Afro-Panamanian. Just happy to be here. And yeah, I think this topic is so important because I feel like we need to be more visible. We need to, and that's how I connected with Shareé too, because she stood out from amongst even that Latinidad community. We're like kind of a subcategory, but we're like, there's a lot of us out there. So I feel like it's important for us to share our experiences that brings healing to us from past traumas, and to also empower others like us, I think. So I think it's super important for us to talk about that, and hopefully there's others that will be able to share the same experiences. And I think I like what Shareé brought up as far as vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's like one of her strengths. And I think with being vulnerable on today's podcast, I think will definitely bring healing to a lot of people like us.
Absolutely.
I got chills. That's how much I agree.
I love it. And, on the topic of vulnerability, me being white, passing Latino, and acknowledging that I carry the white privilege, it's also for me makes it that much of more of a responsibility to create these spaces to raise visibility. And on a personal note, as far as this specific topic, why it's important to me is because I've dealt with it within my own family. I had a beautiful auntie who passed away on my 25th birthday. And at the time, I had a Jamaican girlfriend, and some of her cousins.
She what?
No. So Zulekha's also my fiance, so she's like, we're going to talk about this later. No, but, on a serious note, clearly that relationship didn't work out. I'm not engaged to a beautiful Afro-Panameña, but on a serious note, but it caused some controversy with the family, with some of my auntie's cousins around me being with a black woman, and I was really sick of it. And any Latin American person knows that anti-black racism across all our countries in Latin America. And I was visiting my auntie. She's at the hospital. She ended up passing away 15 minutes after I left. But while I was there, I heard her cousins murmuring behind me that I was with a black woman. And I was furious. And I turned around and said, can you please have some respect? My auntie's fighting for her life. And if you guys have an issue, you won't see the children. Yeah. And I left it there, but I was really bothered. And what ended up happening at the dinner table that night, after my auntie ended up passing away, is that the patriarch of the family, Don Robes, may he rest in peace, he caught wind of all this and all the murmuring and everything that was happening. So at the dinner table, we're sipping on soup, and he asked me, I hear you're with a black woman. And I said, yes, I am. And I was ready to fight at this point. And he just kind of paused, and he looked at me, and he said, do you love her? And I said, yes, I do. And he took some more soup, and then he said, does she love you? I said, yes, she does. And then he paused, and he put the spoon down, and he slammed his fist on the table, and he said, that's all that matters to me. Quedó claro. Like, is that clear? Yeah. And then the cousins that had been murmuring earlier in the day had their heads bowed down, and they said, yes, Don Robes. Yeah. And so that moment really defined me as to, like, we got to eradicate this, that people could be on their deathbed and that this racism could be so prevalent. And that brings me to the next question around Mi Gente, Mi Pueblo. I met Jessica Esteves, shout out to her, at the Latin American Film Festival. And that was, 2022, I think, or 2023?
23, I think.
23, yeah. And we just connected. I loved everything that Mi Gente, Mi Pueblo stood for. She was introducing the ouchies in our communities, and separate from the anti-black racism, there's also the machismo, the sexism, and that's something that I had to work and cleanse myself through. I cook really well now.
Shout out to you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
So I think all the components of it, and I will definitely address like the machismo in our communities in a future podcast, but that's what really brought me to Mi Gente, Mi Pueblo, and, Zulekha and I were together. She's the one that actually saw this film festival and decided to go. We connected with Jessica. It was awesome. And they had me feature at the Movida that year. And then 2024, we saw you perform, Shareé, and it just really, Zulekha was so excited, and 813 Project was there.
Locked in. I was locked in. I said, I see all of you, but I see you.
Yes.
So tell us about how y'all met and how this friendship formed and the role that Mi Gente Mi Pueblo played in all this.
You first.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Luis said, like Spence said, like we were at the Latin Film Festival, and so like I said, I was longing for community, so I literally like went to Eventbrite and I was like, oh, Latin Film Festival, let's go. But when Jessica spoke, I was like, I want to be a part of
Jessica,
wherever
the way
she's
she
a part
speaks,
of.
I'm like,
yeah. So that's how we found community, and then, you know, subscribed to Mi Gente Mi Pueblo, you know, as far as the events that they had going on. And then I heard about Movida, and we were like, let's go. I think you performed 2022 or 2023?
23, I performed virtually, and then 24.
Correct.
We
And that's
performed
when
in
I
person.
met, Shareé. And so Shareé did her thing as usual, and it was just sprinkle of like Black Girl Magic and all the things. And I was like, I just felt so empowered, and I was like, I gotta meet her. I gotta meet Shareé, like the fangirl. I was like, I want to meet her. And so, you know, like Shareé is just so humble. Like she's a powerhouse, and she was just so humble and just was open to share her experiences, and that's how I connected with her and then connected with Viva La Negra. So it was just awesome.
Absolutely. And then on my end, it's so like awesome to see in the two different ways that you were just excited to meet me, and I was excited to meet you because I'm so used to being in spaces where I am the only Black Latina there. And so Movida was so moving for me because, again, I didn't have to prove myself. I just spoke Spanish, and nobody was like, ¿Y esta? ¿You pique pani? Yeah, pique pani. You too. And so seeing Zulekha and just the sea of everyone else, I'm just like, I want to connect with her and just even know who you are, see what you do. And I kind of just made a mental note literally from that day that anything I wanted to do with Viva La Negra, whether it was with Mi Gente or not, I wanted to include you in that because I moved from New York, 1,028 miles away from everything I've ever known, a little small town where I never had to question the culture around me, even though they questioned me. So being big city living, I crave community more than ever. And I'm just like, I got to build it. I got to find it. And, you know, I think one thing that anybody would tell you about Viva La Negra as a whole, from where we started to where we're now, once you're Viva La Negra, it's almost like you're always that. You always have that. Yeah, you always have that. It's like a new sisterhood where it's like, you see me, I see you, we see each other. And, you know, my vulnerability empowers somebody else, which not that I learned recently, but I think I've really come to like.
It empowered the hell out of me.
Like I've been coming to like accept it. Like, okay, this is the impact that I have, and that's why I do things like that. So I'm glad.
How did it impact?
I mean, just like I said, just her being her empowered me to do the things, even with Creative Pinellas, even with your show that you had at the exhibit. Like, it was just empowering. And I don't know. It empowered me to speak more, to be more vulnerable, because you know me. Like, I don't like to talk about my life to anybody. Even some of my best friends don't know some parts of me because I'm just that closed in. So the more I tap into the creativity and the more I tap into the empowerment, that's when my vulnerability starts to come out.
You feel safe.
Yeah. Bingo.
Feel safe.
See?
You know, and I want to touch on a bit on identity that has come up. You know, within our culture, there's like language that you mentioned, you know, and that's something that I'm grateful that my mom instilled in me. I speak the language and everything. There's the dancing. You know, you can't speak of Latin culture without the dancing. I got 2 left feet, so I'll defer that over to you. But we have taken some salsa lessons that I'm working on. But I'd like to know, you know, on the topic of identity, like, how did you all, and we'll start with you, Shareé, like, how did you identify growing up, and how do you feel that identity evolved over time as you came down to Florida?
So, I definitely was raised very much, I know Black, I Dominican. That's the easiest way I can describe it to anybody.
Wow.
Even to this day, my grandmother would still say, ustedes me llaman racista, pero, and proceeds to say something that was like really wild. And I'm like, but that's exactly why we say that. And that gave me an identity crisis because the only fair-skinned person in my family is my mother. And she's compleja. Like, she is insecure on how light-skinned she is because her mother, her grandmother, all of her aunts, her great-grandmother, everybody, we all look like me. And she's the only one, essentially, who's about your complexion. And so it was a really confusing time knowing that like my family who looks like me, you can't even tell them they're beautiful. I my hair, y que la greña, y que my nose, and my this, and it's all these ways of like making sure that you're presentable when you show up in the world, because it's bad enough you're black, so don't be unkept and black. And here I am going to like school, and I look like I'm going to an interview, and I'm like, no, I'm just going to seventh period, because it was literally that. Make sure your hair is done. Don't have a hair out of place. Your nails, your this. Everything was to just be agradable to everybody else. And so living in a world where I'm like, my own family looks at me this way, but you also don't really allow me to be friends or know black culture. You're denying you're black, but then my mom is insecure because she's white and not black. I'm like, what is happening in this like dynamic? And it really wasn't until Celia Cruz passed away. Unfortunately, I was about 11, 12 years old, and that was the first time I saw somebody who looked like me, down to the nails, the gap teeth, the hair, the everything. And I was like, y esta belleza. And it was from there that I started to just like take that. Then when I had my son at 15 years old, I realized even more so, if I got it, he's going to have it. And I wanted to make sure that I educated myself, that I unlearned what I was being taught, this generational curse, essentially, that was passed down, no thanks to Trujillo, and educate myself so that I can do that for him. My son has the most beautiful, deep brown complexion, but he's Dominican AF, like, and I love it, hearing his accent, the language. And so having that be my experience is really what shaped me to be how I am today and be vulnerable in it, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who was raised, oh, you're not black, you're Dominican. And I'm like, I'm sorry. When I walk out of this house, it does not matter what language we speak in here, what we eat, what our customs are, what our traditions. When I walk out of this house, I'm a black woman, and that is how the world is going to treat me. And so when I came to finally accept that so that I can do it for me and my son, everything else just followed through. And I'm still growing, and I'm still learning. And, I'm not saying that I know everything there is to know, but at least I'm showing you. I'm in a place where I'm willing to acknowledge that is how I knew what I knew, because you don't know what you don't know. Now I do. I'm taking the steps that I need to, no matter how small or big, to correct that.
So dope to hear your story. And like I've heard spoken word pieces and things about like Dominicans not identifying, as black. And so it's so beautiful to hear your journey and growing out of that. And so like I know you had a bit of a different story in terms of how you identified growing up and where that started to transition. Could you share?
I mean, it's funny because like we're both from New York originally, but yeah, like I was immersed in the blackness and the black culture. But Shareé had made a good point, and I was reflecting because I remember you and I have had conversations about, we got to look proper, and you're like, you don't care. And I'm like, no, my hair got to be in place, the way I dress, because they look at me and they say, oh, I'm black. Forget the Panamanian part. It's just like, oh, you're black. And so I think maybe that was important for my parents to instill those things in me, because knowing that maybe we'll be judged by the color of our skin. And even though I grew up in New York, the melting pot, and I went to predominantly black schools, and
it still exists.
Yeah, it still exists. But, I've never experienced that. Like my childhood and growing up, it was all about black empowerment, more so the African American experience than the Afro-Latinidad experience. And that's the part that I didn't get. Like certain parts were just kind of like a hush that they don't talk about slavery, or they talk about, when ancestors came from the Caribbean to build the Panama Canal, like those things were never really talked about. So, but in terms of being in the States, I was very much immersed in the black culture. And, but we say, yeah, we're Panamanian. So inside the household, we'll have salsa music, we'll eat the food and everything like that. But I assimilated more to the African American experience.
And where did that shift?
Oh, Lord Jesus. So that shift when I moved to the Midwest, specifically Oklahoma, because I didn't know that racism exists. Like I said, I was empowered. I knew about black history when I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the birthplace where they had the Tulsa race riots, if that gives you a clue. That was when I experienced racism. And it was predominantly black, white, and Mexicans. And so they were like, oh, you're black or you're Mexican or you're biracial? I'm like, no, I'm like Afro-Panamanian, or I'm black and Panamanian. And no one really understood that. And I really stood out just being black. And I felt like I was more isolated. I couldn't be myself. So naturally, I always gravitate to other communities and groups so I can feel that empowerment. I was just telling Shareé at the panel, like, if I don't have that sense of community or empowerment, like, I get depressed.
Yeah.
If I am not myself, or if you see me some type of way and not myself, that's because I'm not connected to community.
Yeah, I'm craving people.
I'm craving that because that's when I was immersed in growing up. I didn't have a traumatic experience growing up. I was empowered, but the trauma comes when I'm out of it. Bar. So it was kind of reversed. But in Oklahoma, I experienced a lot of racism. I fought to put history like African American history, but as far as Afro-Latinidad, I didn't really get to hear that term or learn more about it until like several years ago. So.
Same here. So when I was younger, in my house, very much Dominican Republic. When I went out, I wasn't allowed to have black friends really. So if I did, it was very secretive. You didn't see me here. Don't tell my grandma you saw me, because if my grandma comes home at 4:15, which means I have to catch up on everything black culture between now and then, so that when I go to school the next day, I can tell you what was on 106 in Park or whatever. Was not allowed. But on the same hand, I wasn't allowed to, I felt like I wasn't allowed. It was denied essentially by even my peers. You're black, but you're not black. And it's not my job to teach you how to be a black girl. You should know that already. How? Who's teaching me? My grandmother, who speaks no English and came here from her native country to make a better life, who was going to show me how to do that? And so even then, that's something now, I feel like I get a black test. Let me see how black you are. Did you see this movie? Did you watch that movie? And I'm like,
the black card. It's been revoked and brought back a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm like, look, if we're talking about, I'm this type of black apparently, and I was never enough of that. So I didn't even have a chance to experience that.
So tell us something. How did y'all find belonging as you started to feel this isolation? Like you mentioned Celia Cruz being like a pivotal point for you where you saw yourself reflected. What other ways were you all able to find belonging, like, say, once you went to Oklahoma or as you experienced this? When did you feel that again? And, as a reference point, we collaborated on that amazing Ni de Aquí, Ni de Allá panel that I think provided that sense of belonging for a lot of listeners. But, if you can share with the listeners, like, where you found it or how you created it.
I think for me, it was really also finding confidence, not finding, but, like, the more the confidence in myself built, down to cutting the relaxed hair out and deciding to be natural. And I used to like wearing like colored contacts so I can have light colored eyes like my dad. And I'm like, no, let's take that off. And, and it was just like decentering. Uncentering? What's the English word?
Decentering.
Okay. Look, my English is nobody can look.
No, speak very well.
It's just kind of removing that notion of how someone else is supposed to view me. And like I mentioned, also for my son, I knew that my son was going to experience more of that. At a young age, we'd walk down the street and children, mira ese prieto ahí caminando, mira ese negro. And I'm like, my son is literally like 3. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they would say to him, don't let him go to the beach too much, que se va a poner prieto, salió negro como carbón. And I'm like, okay, but he's still beautiful. I don't understand what the point is. And to even touch on that, my nickname growing up was Morena. Is Morena. They still call me that. It wasn't until older that I realized you guys are so obsessed with colorism. Crazy. My son will absolutely not allow you to call him anything of that nature. My name is Nasir or Alejandro, whichever one makes it easier for you, but I'm not a color. And that lets me know, like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. If I didn't do that for myself, he couldn't be like that. He couldn't have that. And so I think that really shaped, especially having him so young at that age where you're kind of like still figuring out your identity. My identity has been mother. I've been a matriarch. I've been a mother since I was 10 to everybody else and 15 to my own. But at that moment, I was like, oh no. This has got to change. We can't keep doing this because he needs to have a different experience than what I did. And that's really just kind of where it shifted.
Much respect to you. How about you, Zulekha? The topic of belonging once you get to Oklahoma.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I just gravitated to more of my people. And that's how I found that again. And I immersed myself in the arts in order to find that belonging. So I've always gravitated to dance and just shows that to help me to find that belonging. So it wasn't until my adult life, I think, that I was able to find it more.
I know when those drums hit, Like,
Yeah.
Forget it.
So when the drums
Same
hit,
here.
then, and stuff like that. Because even when I was younger, I was involved in the step team and dancing. But anytime I hear a drum, to me, that's like my heartbeat. And so yeah.
Now, one thing too, and I'll start with you, and I'll come to you after Shareé, is at the Movida last year, y'all did this amazing presentation honoring an Afro-Latina poet.
Victoria Santa Cruz. Me
Victoria
gritaron negra.
So tell us how it felt for you, because I loved seeing your process of like listening, even not understanding what she's saying, but you're just like, oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
How did it feel for you to back up Shareé with that?
It felt great. And it's funny, just so telling her story
Yeah,
about her
goosebumps.
son. I mean, it kind of parallels her story because I think she was 8 when they were calling her negra. Like, imagine having to experience
Apenas
that.
7 años.
Yes, 7 años. Yes. And so for her, it was like, she was saying like, oh, like, negra, in a negative connotation to like an empowering, like it was a positive connotation. And so to back Shareé up in doing that, it was empowering for me just to say negra, even in her event that we had at the exhibit, like
Her voice.
people were like, what in the world? But that's really who I am. But besides outside of the 9 to 5, that's really who I am. So
I love that. And Shareé, tell us about
Yes.
that, why you chose it, and like hopefully we can get some of that footage onto the podcast.
yeah.
So when Zulekha first told me about this poem, and it was funny, and I'm so glad that you didn't like not participate, because there was a point in time
Wait,
where
she told you?
there was a point in time
yeah.
you weren't sure. She was like, I just don't know. And
Oh.
I'm like, listen, even if you participate
That's
in
right.
the
Oh my
most
God, I totally
smallest of ways, please, we have to do this. I almost banged on the table. We have to do this. We have to do this piece. When I first heard it, and it was wild, that's not the first time it was sent to me. Anybody, down to my aunt, which is my grandmother's youngest sister. Shout out to Tia Mercedes. I love her. She sent me that video. She'll send me almost every rendition, whether it's children or someone else. She will send me that, and she would say, "This reminds me of you. This reminds me of your work, what you're doing." Other people sent me that. So when you sent it, I'm like, espérate, espérate.
Yeah.
And it was just so powerful. Even honestly, you and Lex saying the negra, you both have individually your own experiences when it comes to your identity and what you're working out with
Absolutely.
it. And so for y'all to be a part of it, even in that way, it might be small to you, but to me, I'm like, you two doing this, important people in my life first and foremost, but like I know your stories to the extent that I do. And so, like she said in the poem, she literally says, apenas tenía 5 años. Tenía 7 años, apenas 7 años. Y que 7 años no llegaba a 5 siquiera. De pronto unas voces en la calle me gritaron, ¡Negra! ¿Soy acaso negra? Me dije. Sí. ¿Qué cosa es ser negra? Negra. Y yo no sabía la triste verdad que ellos escondían. Negra. Y me sentí negra. Negra. Como ellos decían. Negra. Y retrocedí. Negra. Como ellos querían. Negra. When I was walking down the street, y me gritaron negra. And she questioned herself like, ¿soy acaso negra? And the way that they want me to feel, I started to feel that way until one day, al fin comprendí. And you hear the transition of like, yeah, negra, 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 negra.
Yes.
Suena que ritmo tiene. It has a sound, a sabor, a sazón that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And so it was so like, of course I would do this. And everybody who was in that audience, especially when you guys first started, being on the end looking at them, amazing. Amazing.
Yes.
That was a show-stopping moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my folklore dress, let me just add.
Yes. And you had the pollera.
And I had the pollera.
Yes, yes. Educate the audience about the folklore dress and the pollera, the significance.
No, well, I mean, the pollera there's so many variations of the pollera, but that's the signature Panamanian dress. And so my mom my abuelita passed it down to my mom that just passed it down to me. And it's just a traditional dress, and we have the hairpiece, and, we dress and we dance in the traditional Panamanian dance. But there's there's variations of pollera, but the one that I really want is the African pollera that I want. And that's another conversation about, because some people may say, especially, and this is another podcast about spirituality.
Yes.
And being Afro-Latina,
Yeah.
because some may demonize and say, oh, that's demonic, and wearing the African pollera. Yes, I heard of it, and that's another podcast. But, I want to embrace that, but it was empowering for me to wear that.
And for me, with the traje, it for me, it really symbolizes like my culture and how I was raised, and what I know. Again, I was surrounded by a culture that denied me, but I didn't deny you. Like
Yeah, that's powerful.
when I leave my home, the food that I cook, the idioms that I know, all in Spanish, baby, Dominican, like that's what I know. And I remember wanting to be in the parades because I'm like, this is what a great display to show that you're a Dominican girl. That's your like coming of age, and you're walking and you have the skirt, and I wasn't allowed to be in those spaces. Not allowed, but it just wasn't offered to me. It was just like, oh, whatever. So as an adult, I said, Mama, please. My inner child needs this traje. It might not be important to you because I don't think anybody denied you being a Dominican woman. Pero a mí me lo negaron from beginning to the end. This is me reclamando that. And when she came down, she brought me one, and I felt like just the prettiest princess. You can't tell me anything. And so of all times to wear that, which I will also be passing it down to my grandchildren and so forth. It was so important to wear that because that was inner me, little me, better said, not inner me, but little me and inner me, reclaiming the identity that was taken away from me or denied from me in so many ways due to the anti-Blackness, and then reciting that poem. A double whammy. Yeah. It had to hit. And the folklore dress is so traditional. Even in songs like Palos, talking about the drums.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over here like, da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like waiting for the drums. And if I knew anything, I knew those Palos drums. And I'm like, how are you anti-Black and we're dancing Tola Palos? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But the folklore dress was important for that. That was me. Little me just saying like, I'm Dominican, you can't take that away. This is a culture that I know and I look like this.
And that goes back to the roots, like the drumming, the spirituality, right? That was all one ancestrally. So I wanted to expand a little more on the external world as you all experience it as Afro-Latinas. And something I've addressed in my poetry is this whole casate con una blanca para mejorar la raza, like marry a white person so you can so you can better the race. And it's such a accepted. In Toronto, I've facilitated a lot of workshops with Latin American youth, and no matter what country they're from, they have all heard this in the house. They have all accepted it in the house. I'm like that guy that shows up and just jacks up the dinner table, ruins the family dinner because I don't want to hear this. I don't want to accept it. And, real dangers to that for me brings up also, J Balvin had that video where he had Black women on leashes parading around like dogs. Like I've addressed these things in my poetry, and again, I feel that's my responsibility. But I would love to hear from y'all, as Afro-Latinas, like, what's your reactions to seeing this idiot doing that, or to that phrase, and how, like, what damage does it cause, and what do we got to do to, or what, whatever you feel in your heart to say, really. I think on my side of it, the responsibility is fight and denounce it as much as possible. I don't think it's fair to put emotional labor on y'all. But just I wanted to open the floor to kind of address these things that just become so accepted. Start maybe with you, Zulekha. Like, did you see that J Balvin video?
I did, but I just shook it off. I mean, it was hell of offensive.
Yeah.
So, but I just, I'm just.
And like it got withdrawn, but for a video to get released, it has to go through so many green lights. So many idiots saw that and were like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, not to say that I am desensitized to that type of bullshit, but I just, I don't know. I think what we can do is just continue to empower. I'm not going to waste my energy to get upset and to get angry and all that stuff. I'm just going to continue to feed myself and feed myself with knowledge. I don't know. What about you, Shareé? Because I feel like I'm like...
I was bouncing off the walls, man.
Almost like how Gloria said, it's not my job.
Yeah.
It's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Are we doing...
What's her full name? Gloria
Malone.
Gloria Malone.
Shout out Cassava and Cane. She has really amazing necklaces.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta get it. But she said it's not my job. It's not my responsibility to teach you that, to do that. We're sharing the knowledge because this is our truths also. These are our experiences as well. If anything, he's going to cancel himself. Because, what made you think that was a good idea? And those who, like, don't understand the severity of it, because there's always somebody who's like, it's not that serious. And I'm like, but it is.
Serious. That was hella serious.
But it is. If you think about it in hindsight, I can't stand not everything is about race. It is, though.
It is.
But it is, especially in the culture.
One thing I do want to tell the listeners, if you saw J Balvin in this video and you were furious by it, go look up Residente from Calle 13, the diss track that he made.
For it.
Yeah, because he called them out on like 3 verses of a diss track just about the racism, about the appropriation, because he was on an interview saying that he started to do reggaeton when he saw Daddy Yankee as a white Latino doing reggaeton, and then that gave him the confidence. And like apparently he's gotten awards.
Where it came from.
He actually, from what Residente said in the diss track, got an award got an Afro-Latino award. J Balvin. That's the state of affairs in our community.
Bombastic side eye.
But moving aside from that, I think, like the microaggressions of it all, like the little slick comments, and you both have touched on it in different ways. Like, what microaggressions, will go to you maybe first, Shareé, have you experienced growing up around race, around hair, body, voice, that affected you that you're still looking to resolve as an adult?
Well, for someone who is as vocal as they are, I was not always like that. I wasn't really allowed to be vocal as much because what happens in the house stays in the house, even the injustices.
Yeah.
Very much a lot of experience of calladita se ve más bonita, and so you don't say too much. And, I'm a llorona, I'm always complaining, I always have this. Blame it on the autism or not, but I have a very strong sense of justice. What is right, what is wrong is wrong. You're my family, but you are wrong. Like, what are you saying to me? I've had a relaxer in my hair since I was a year old. So that goes to show you just like that was my experience. Had to go to the salon every Saturday, make sure that my hair was kept, I was kept, that I was well presented. I think ways that I combat that is like kind of going outside in sweatpants, because I'm like, if my grandmother would see me right now, I'm a rebel, because of that. But a lot of it really comes down to my son and making sure that I change that mindset so that he doesn't. I grew up, my brother and I grew up with the mejora la raza. My brother did marry somebody who was white. I'm a little salty about it. I'm not going to lie. Because I feel like over time I see the differences in how their children are treated versus to mine. Like, do you mind if I touch your hair for a moment? So like my mother and my grandmother would be like, oh, do you see her hair? Look at her hair. It's so beautiful. And I'm like, do you see my son's locks? Do you see that 4B, that 4A, 4B hair? Do you see that? Because I see it.
4A, 4B.
Do you see our hair texture? Like, I'm sorry that their hair grows down. My hair grows up to God.
I love that.
And there's just such a difference with like how they treat it. And sometimes I even tell my mom and my grandmother, I'm like, you treat my brother and his children that are, fairer skin complexion and everything as like, wow, the perfect family. The man with his white wife and his 2 children who don't have to worry about racism, and they're very racially ambiguous. And then here's my son and I, and we're just the tigres, the cualquieras, the one who go against the mold, but we're too loud. And so that they don't want to be around that because I'm messing up the dinner. I'm the one who's like, are you sure though? So, yeah, that is something that I'm every day, not every day, but like it's definitely been a lifelong journey, because I'm like, I tell my son the same thing. Love who you want to love. But if you are going to be with somebody who is fair skin, please make sure they're educated.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm a little salty with my brother, because I'm like, I'm sorry, love you truly. But I feel like the culture just kind of lacks a little bit in that way. And I'm like, for everything that you guys treated me for being too black, and then he gets praised for fixing the race, but the culture got lost over there.
Oof. You fixed the race and lost the culture.
Oh, you're getting called to like learn recipes, but honey, I'm in the kitchen with you making it. Don't forget who was with you shooting in the gym. So how am I less than? How am I not Dominican enough? You taught me from your own hands. I watched you. Dime.
Wow.
Dime, I stayed with the family. I take care of the matriarchs and the women. So what do you mean to tell me that I'm not that? Am I not, no soy dominicana? Am I not doing what a Dominican or a Latina woman does? You fix the race, you lose the culture.
Yeah.
My son is, again, the most beautiful dark skin complexion, but I bet you he's in that Dominican parade. I was so excited for him. I was like, I never walked the parade. You're so cool. And he goes to Dominican Republic. They don't even know me. They're like, oh, you're Alejandro's mom. I'm like, oh, excuse me. Goes to just...
Huh.
Yeah.
And now with Zulekha, your story being so different, what were the microaggressions you dealt with, I guess, as you shared more so going into Oklahoma or even in the corporate world?
No, like more in a corporate world that I've experienced it. Like if we talk, they're thinking, oh, you're aggressive and, and then the microaggressions that come. And so I have to be prim and proper,
to make you feel better.
And I'm just sick of it. But yeah, there's this one experience that I could think of. So like the post George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, and, they had the protests and the riots and so forth. And so here was all the corporate DEI committees and all that. And so I worked for like a nationally known organization, and they so happened to have like a DEI committee. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, finally. And we can make some moves and all the things. And then... and then I was like, they made a few changes with some things that I was like, okay, that's nice and that's pretty, but what about the race? And so I said, we got to take a stance. And I think they reinforced the Martin Luther King holiday. We didn't have that, so they decided to put
Hold on. Because I want the listeners to understand this, because this was so whack.
Again, the Boston
Their DEI initiative post George Floyd was bringing back Martin Luther King holiday because they didn't have it available to employees.
And I'm like,
wow.
Congratulations. And then I decided, I was like, yeah, you got to make a stance when it comes to, I think the January 6th happened with the insurrection. And I was like, why don't we as an organization make a stance on that in terms of, not accepting violence and so forth. And the way I worded it was articulately written.
I remember.
The CEO and all the executives decided to show up at the DEI and kind of bullying us for us to say, no, we're not going to do that. And they decided to change the DEI committee to, what was
Wheels and Spokes.
The Wheels and Spokes Committee.
The Respect Committee.
The Respect Committee. And I'm like...
bombastic side eye.
Yeah. So, I'm just... listen, I'm the type of person, like, Luis knows this more than you, but... Like, I feel like I'm more of I say quiet storm, a sniper. Sometimes you don't know how powerful I am until you get hit. And so I'm just like, listen, if you want to play this game, let's do it. And so karma, caught up to them because they lost one of the biggest contracts with the state and, and I moved up, so.
That's right. I was working for Canada's largest social housing provider at the time, and I was furious because they were doing nothing. So I railed up the COO at the time, and I shared her the Ben and Jerry statement. They had put out a pretty dope statement in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. And I asked her, because we all organized as frontline staff, and we demanded that she share that statement with the executive. And I was like, how the hell is an ice cream company doing more equitable statement than you as largest social housing provider? And it was so, I don't know if there was a corporation that their initiative was to not to take the Black women's hair products out of the locked cages that they were in. And I'm reading like, this is what you're doing in response? Sorry, Shareé, you were going to say something.
It reminded me of something before, because the things going on with police brutality and everything is not new. I remember seeing injustices on TV, and I'd be like, Mom, like, should we be worried about that? Like, that's happening to people who look like me, that look like my brother, that look like my grandma. Not you, though, but like all of us. And she said to me, oh, you don't have to worry about that. That doesn't happen to us. And I'm like, who's us? Because you and I have two very different experiences the moment we walk out the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's us? It may not happen to you, but when I walk out the house, I'm a Black woman.
Yeah.
They're probably just going to ask you, do you know this girl? Like, why is she with you? But otherwise, that does happen to us. Like, what do we... And I feel like it touches on how there's just like a divide in that, oh, yeah, no, just the Black people getting killed. Don't worry about it. You're Dominican, though. And I'm like, no, this... You need to fix that. That doesn't make sense to me. And that just reminded me of that. Like, these are small not small, but like you don't realize it that young. But these are little things that as you get older, you're like, wait, somebody actually said something like this to me, or this is really where it started. That you gotta come to a point where you have to be the one like, no, I gotta do better, so I don't
Yeah.
sound like that.
Correct.
Yeah, and again, I think sharing practical tools for our people listening, like something as simple as the Barbie dolls. Like, I got a beautiful primita in Guatemala, jet black hair. And I remember when she was 7, and I'd take the Barbie doll and I'd be like, let's paint her hair black so she looks as beautiful as you do. You know, like these are things that are critical. We can't just accept these imposed Eurocentric standards of beauty because they have lifelong consequences,
Yeah,
you know? So I think
absolutely.
all of us got to be mindful, disrupt the dinner tables, ruin the holidays, like do all of
Flip the
the
whole
things.
table over.
Yeah, I've done that many a time. What I wanted to ask is an opportunity to vent as well is like, you know, if you want to share some instances where you felt like you were either too much or not enough, like that where it kind of limited the full capacity of who you were, you know, if there's anything that you'd like to touch on that.
Too much or not enough?
Yeah. I mean, you've discussed that throughout, but if there's anything that stands out.
I've been too much my whole life for everybody else around me.
No, I mean, I think that's why, there's there's like this joke that goes on about Black women collecting degrees like they're infinity stones. I think psychologically that's me, like having to get the degrees or having to do the ambition I have is so that I can be enough. Because it's still a problem. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, no. Like, me, Zulekha and Foulen, is still going through that psychologically of having to be enough in these spaces to have a seat on the table. And what does it mean, like, having a seat at the table and making sure that others have a seat at the table, is important to me. So, and sometimes you got to make those compromises, Yes, I'm all about Black power, Afro-Latina power. I'm all about that. And sometimes, unfortunately, there's some compromises and things I would have to make in order for people like us can be in those seats and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that's with me. It's never like I'm doing the most necessarily, but just, and maybe that's me internally that I'm dealing with. I don't know.
think this is I appreciate the vulnerability of it being a lifelong journey. Because I think one message I want to get across to people, especially people that'll complain, like get over it, whatever, is like, no, y'all are grown and there's still things that you're still processing, that you're still trying to make sure you disrupt for the lineage after you. And I think, Zulekha, this would be a great time to bring up Bridging the Gap LLC. I know the passion that you had in creating this, if you want to share with the listeners what it is, what you're looking to do.
Yeah, thank you. No, at Bridging the Gap LLC, I use it as an opportunity because, growing up and I wanted to start a nonprofit. There's things that I wanted to do, man. I'm like, man, if I just had a mentor, or if I just had the grant, if I just had the resources, and I was longing for it, begging for that, and I just didn't have that. And so I know what it is to be without. I know what it is to just wanting someone to hold my hand to take me through the process so I can get there. And now that I have the ability to do that, I want to bring others with me. And it doesn't have to be a youth thing or an age thing. It has to, but marginalized people that look like us, I want to elevate them. And so with Bridging the Gap, it's a consulting firm that allows others, individuals, it could be corporation, it could be nonprofit, to get those type of resources, financial resources, in order to elevate themselves, for them to be seen. So like my biggest thing is my background is in contracts, is in grants, and is in social services. And so that's the area where I feel like, I want to help out the most.
I love that. Very noble. I'm doing grant writing for our communities, and I'm seeing the importance of dispelling all these insecurities, imposter syndrome myths.
I mean, I have it too.
And I love that you have the knowledge and wherewithal to share with our communities, because it doesn't even have to be a class issue. I'm sure there's powerful executives, and I'm dealing with some powerful, sisters and brothers that are limiting themselves on the grant side of it.
It's all psychological. It's not like we don't have the capacity to do it. But sometimes I just think, man, I just need someone, accountability. I just need somebody who looks like me that can help me. Not that I don't have the intelligence. It's just different. Yeah.
Someone to give that comfort and
Correct.
that can bridge the gap.
There you go.
So Shareé, for you, again, feeling not enough or too much, and then Also, I think a great time for you to bring up Viva la Negra.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, I'm just trying to think. There's a line in a poem that I did. It's actually my son's favorite part where I said, I'm that burn in your chest from that shot of rum. I'm the dip in your knee of your favorite dance move. I'm the, what is it, like the first note of your favorite song, the last bite of your favorite meal. I'm timeless.
Yes.
Never growing. No longer making myself digestible to fit your needs. Choke.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Sorry.
And so I say that to say, I have always been too much for the people who cannot digest me.
Yes.
But I'm not for everyone. I am for those who have the appetite and are able to hold what I have to offer. I'm very big on you meet me when you're supposed to, because if you're not ready to address certain things, wrong space to be in. But I also feel like I'm too little sometimes for myself in the way that I feel like I'm so modest. I'm like how Cardi B be saying, I'm just a regular degular girl. I'm just a regular degular girl. Like sometimes it's hard for me to see like the impact on somebody else, because for me, I'm like, oh, it's just a regular Tuesday. I wrote this because this is just how I was feeling. For me, for you. And it keeps going back down to the for me, for you. Like I did this for me and I didn't realize everybody else was so like taken aback. But I feel like I play small just because I haven't been in rooms that made me feel like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why even more like and just to follow off on what you said, when I first met Jessica, love her down. Ooh, I love her down. She gives me so much inspiration. But the one that I wanted to talk to was Zulekha, because Zulekha looked like me. She looked like me, or looks essentially like me.
Yes.
And so, yes, this is amazing. I want you to be a part of this. But Zulekha, tell me, I'm right here. And it's so important because, yes, it comes down to like, yes, thank you for believing in me, but I want people who look like me to believe in me too, because what I do is for people who look like me. Everyone else who gets impacted, like, come along for the ride. Amazing. But please know I'm doing it for this marginalized group. And that brings me to Viva la Negra. All of my experiences, everything that shaped me as a Black Latina growing up. My mother is Dominican. My father is African American. I was raised solely just everything I know Dominican culture. And even just my name, for the record, for those who don't know, my name is Shareé Yveliz Slaughter.
Slaughter, yeah.
Really cool last name.
Yeah.
It is.
But I hated it for so long because that was the reason why everybody denied me. You can't be Dominican with a last name like Slaughter. And I'm like, but I promise. I promise my family is from Rio San Juan, República Dominicana. And we go to La Laguna Grigri. Like, how can you not believe that I am? Look at my mother, look at my grandmother. And I had to go down. And
All because of her last name.
all because of a last name. However, for my son who plays sports, beastie, amazing.
Well, perfect.
Me
Get the
with
NBA
my-
contract ready.
Me with my love and light and sprinkling healing, yeah, slaughter those feelings,
Yes.
slaughter this healing, right? But Viva la Negra came from a space of for me, for you, of I wanted a space where I'm like, I know other people had this experience, but not enough people are talking about it. Not enough people are talking about it in a way that didn't seem, I guess, mainstream. You know, like, I love the Mara La Negra and everything. Love it. But then after a while, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There's plenty of Amara La Negras in the world, you know, and I loved and appreciated her, but I was like, oh, I wish you had your natural eye colors. You know, thank you so much for standing strong on, I don't want to change my afro, but the afro with the gray contacts, you're just...
Almost there, but like.
Not quite.
But I think it really was, I wanted to see regular, degular girls. And so Viva la Negra started off as a blog where I was asking anybody that I met, like if I met Zulekha, hey, do you mind if I interviewed you real quick? And the questions that I asked literally were, outside of who you are for everybody else, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, who are you? I feel like we don't get asked that enough. I feel like me growing up and what I've seen so far in Latino culture, it's what you do for your family. There's no sense of like individuality. You have to put all of that aside to be somebody for somebody else. And so when I say I became a mother at 10 years old, my mother broke her back at 10 years old, and my grandmother is helping us how we can, but I'm also taking care of my brother because my brother's only job was supposed to throw out the dishes throw out the garbage and do his homework, but I had to do everything else. So who I am, my creativity, my personality got lost in the, not only the calladita se ve más bonita, but like, I don't have time for that. Again, if I went through that, someone else went through that. So who are you outside of the role that you have to be for somebody else? And what is the message you have to share to the world? And even just asking those two questions, you see everybody like kind of like starting to light up and glow because you're realizing, wow, I'm all of these great things. I just never had somebody make me feel safe enough to say those words out loud. And so Viva La Negra is that space, even with you. Don't censor yourself. Say what you have to say. This is what that space is. And again, for me, for everybody else. For me, for you.
I love it. I love it. And such a machista phrase, calladita se ve más bonita.
And I'm very anti-machista, okay? First of all.
Yeah, because calladita, for the non-Spanish speaker, we'll do subtitles, but it's basically nice and quiet. You look pretty.
Yeah, you look pretty. You look better when
What a
you're quiet. But also,
horrible
like, you
phrase.
look quiet when you're not opinionated. I mean, you look pretty when you're not opinionated. You look pretty when you're not challenging how things are supposed to be. And I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. And I'm going to be the one to tell you. And if it means that I got to be ostracized, well, it's lonely to be this elevated.
And I want to say too, Shareé, it was such an honor, and I encourage like non-Afro-Latinos that want to be respectful and supportive to do this. For me to just be quiet in the background running the controls when you had the Ni de Aquí Ni de Allá panel, and even the open mic, like I popped in a little bit, but I think those of us that want to, what can we do? That are not Afro-Latinos, but that are respectful and are sincere. I would highly encourage y'all to just be in spaces and just be quiet and just listen. Like, don't try to take center stage. Don't try to make it about you. Be of support that's asked. Don't go offer what you think is needed and impose it. In our case, it was like, okay, I'll run the Zoom in the background. And I just sat there and listened. Yeah. And I felt so blessed and privileged. And I was just thinking of other Afro-Latina or Black Latina sisters that I would love to bring into the space, to build community with y'all. We're coming towards the end, and we have some beautiful art pieces that I would love to have a showcase. And I'd love it if we could start with you, Zulekha, because I'm your number one fan with your visual arts.
Babes.
I really am. And I'm going to write a poem for this beautiful piece. So I'd love to know, kind of turning that shift over, like, how has your art, and we'll start with you, Zulekha, how has your art helped you claim space or visibility that wasn't always offered? And if you'd like to share this piece or however you want to take the question.
Well, the name of this piece, thank you for asking that question. The name of this piece is called Cholas y Molas. And so I explained that cholas is kind of a negative connotation to say cholas. My mom and my uncle named Chola y Cholas, Cholo y Chola. They said it's black-haired, but it really says no, like you're black. It's a negative connotation for being black. But I am showcasing the black woman and just the Afro-Panamanian. You see, I have the Panama country, and it's split with the patriotic side on the left and the indigenous side on the right. And so you have the indigenous woman on the bottom, because I do have Panamanian indigenous heritage, and I also have Afro-Panamanian. So this is very empowering. The molas is a type of Panamanian indigenous art that I've incorporated in it, and I want to showcase more of this art because you don't see it a lot. You see Latino art, you see Black art, but not necessarily Afro-Latina art. And so this is like in your face.
That's right.
Panama.
1 second, bring it up to the camera.
Yes.
In your face,
In
son.
your face.
All right.
And so, you can't get more like out there than that. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase like this is who I am. This is my identity, and I wanted to showcase that visually. And so shout out to Mi Gente Mi Pueblo and allowing us to have us to be that creative again, because growing up I've always been like creative as far as visually, and just to get back into that is important. So.
And this beauty, I'll hold it here. This was exhibited at Shareé's event.
Yeah. Yes, this was showcased at Shareé's. See, again.
The colors of her voice.
Colors of her voice. And so when Shareé asked me to be a part of it, that's when I came up with this concept. So shout out to you, Shareé, for again opening doors to people like me to be empowered to create again, because that's something that I have suppressed throughout my adulthood. And so, shout out to you.
From what I recall, you
Mirror,
let
mirror.
loose at that event. When
And
you were
And I danced, I cussed, I did all the things.
And then
How
I
did
was in
that
the
feel
back
for
like,
you to
yes.
step out? Because for people who don't know that side of Zulekha, they must have been shocked. How did it feel
I'm
for you to?
very, people say I'm reserved and I'm quiet and all that stuff. But honestly, it just brought up.
That sniper came
The
out.
sniper came out, boom, and then I was able to just come alive again. Again, community, creativity. That's what kept me, using that other side of the brain, and being, having that safety allowed me to bring that side out of me. It's always been in there. It's just been dormant. So I'm just honored, and thank you, Shareé, for allowing that. And thank you, Shareé, and thank you to Mi Gente Mi Pueblo to bring that out for me again. But yeah, it was definitely empowering for me to create that. And, even talk to Espena. I was like, let me have the music playing in the background, the African music. And I had the Afro-Latino music and the drums.
Yes.
So for me, and I was like dancing, and I was like getting the groove of it, and I was just stroking my brush and just getting to it. And just, it was an exciting experience. So more to come.
Awesome. That's a beautiful piece.
Yes.
And over to you, Shareé. And I think you got an accompanying poem for these beautiful art pieces.
I do. So this is my piece here.
Amazing.
It is called Sunborn. Raise it up higher so you can see it. And what's so important about this, especially with just the embryo and the sunflower, the butterflies, the crows, very ancestral, very connected with just nature. I've always associated butterflies with my great-grandmother, and I feel like in everything that I do, I kind of think about what were my ancestors doing? What were the symbolisms that they might have used? And to go along with this, the poem that I have, I wonder where I can put this.
Yes, I got you. I'll hold it.
And I'm going to say forgive me in advance because I may remember it. I may not.
You have another one as well, no?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, another painting. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
This also adds to it. So we have the butterflies as well. And you kind of see the theme with the umbilical cord. Like here it's going into the sunflower, back into the earth, and also water. These elements, like when I think about spirituality, when I think about when I'm talking to God, and in those moments, it's in seeing butterflies, it's in seeing the sun and being in the water and being in the earth and having that experience. And so,
and these were exhibited at the Reclamando exhibit?
They were at the
shout out to Ketsi for the curation.
Yes.
That curation. I can't even think of the name of it, but I was just so excited. It was at Creative Pinellas, yes. And it was like a timeline of our lives, and it's really important for me to use Black representation in my artwork, especially because of my upbringing. And so with that poem, with that painting and this poem, it goes, Mamá, pero soy negra. Mírame y mírame bien. Desde mi crianza esperando en la matriz de tu madre, fue escrito en el cielo que así será. Que mi papá solo aumentó los ancestros en mi existencia, añadiendo la riqueza del color de mi piel. Pero negra soy y negra seré. Papá, as you say, I am Latina AF, but I'm a Black woman, no less. My languages vary. My skin grows to my hair grows to the sky, and my skin matches the earth. Yes. My nose is cultured. My lips are full. And talk about those drums. My hips sway to the sound of that tambora, porque soy dulce como el melao, alegre como el tambor. Tengo el rítmico tumbao de África en el corazón.
Yes.
And so, I wonder if that's how the song even went, but I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But no less, I still got that ritmo in me, and it really just, it's important to have that representation. And for those who don't quite understand, there's a line that's really important that I think about these paintings, where I say, from my existence, waiting in your mother's uterus, it has been written in the stars that I'm a Black woman, and a Black woman I will always be.
I love that.
And referencing my father, I think my grandmother and my father both played a role in my identity. My father has called me Puerto Rican and Mexican my whole entire life. He's like, I've been around them all the time. You're so sensitive. And I'm like, ugh. Maybe don't say that out loud to the general public. And he struggles with how Latina I portray myself to be, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm still a Black woman in any language that I speak. I'm not denying that I'm a Black woman.
Yeah.
You're upset at the latter, but where were you to educate me and teach me that also? Like, you can't get mad at my grandma for teaching me what she knows. There's, again, education that comes down to it. And so it was written in the stars. I'm a Black woman, and a Black woman I'll always be.
I love it. And, I want to take a moment to thank Ketsi because
Oh, yeah.
she was very supportive in the curation of the exhibit. And Zulekha and I had
Ketsi made me feel like she called me a big dog. I was like, I'm a big dog. Me with my little butterfly clips, jaw, my Hello Kitty shirt. Thank you so much.
And I think like just creating that access, right? Creating that access for you to exhibit.
Yeah.
Zulekha and I did a visual art piece. Zulekha, you want to describe what we did with the kawok? Visual? I just don't know the fancy terms of the canvas and all the stuff that you did.
No, I mean, it was on Nepalese paper, and so I wanted to make sure that is still somewhat tied to ancestral indigenous roots of some sort. And so with the Mayan, and I don't know how to pronounce it.
Kawok.
Kawok. You can share what kawok means.
Yeah, so kawok is one of the 20 nahuales in the Cosmovisión Maya, and this is in the Quiché language, as my elders have taught me. And it's, for me, it's just kind of seeing the macro and the micro. And it's an inspirational poem I wrote to kind of help me get through things, and to hopefully inspire others to get through them, And so I love that poem so much, but I love that you.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Spin, who's like a dope, poet and stuff. And
I was just going to say, we're not going to finish this without talking about you
first
either.
Of all, I just.
Let's talk about spaces.
Yeah,
you create them also.
Spin is a powerhouse, and if you want to call us biased, but everyone who knows him, we even as your woman, I feel honored to be your woman because to allow you,
I hit different, huh?
Yeah, to allow you to, because I see him on the daily, and people just don't know behind the scenes. People he cussed out, go into boardrooms and make spaces for people like us. It's just such a blessing. Yeah. So thank you for being a true ally and a friend and my best friend and allowing us to experience that. But yeah, Kawok was powerful because Ben, he has powerful words, and I feel like it needed to be showcased. A lot of times when you think about spoken word poets, you say you get on stage, but for people to actually see and read the words in exhibit, it hits differently. And so to see people like stop and read his piece, I was like, oh my gosh, it was such an honor to capture that, and to have like a visual accompany that was very important for me to have that showcase for others. So yeah,
absolutely.
And for me personally, I was insecure about having the poetry exhibited and even the whole application process. And I'm thankful to you for pushing me there, and I'm thankful to Ketsi for opening the space for all of us to be there. Like, we can all put that we were exhibiting.
Thankful for you also, because though Ketsi is creating those spaces, and I love it because honestly, since meeting you all as a whole, I'm like, okay, I can do these things,
Absolutely.
And even hearing you sometimes, if you share that you were nervous or this, I'm like, what? Or when you fangirl over me, I'm like, I'm fangirling over you. What are you talking about?
I almost didn't submit that poem that Zulekha was talking about because she forced me.
You're doing it.
We all forcing each other.
Because we have such beautiful things to share, and we all have our own individual experiences, and just bringing it back to you for a moment, just thankful to everybody else, but in knowing you and what I've known of you so far, you also, I can tell that you're educating yourself. Even you saying, hey, I use my voice to speak about this. There's not a lot of men that I can tell you myself that I know personally are doing that. Yeah. You might flip the table quietly, but you don't want to make a ruckus out loud. No, you make a ruckus out loud.
There's nothing quiet about.
Yeah, you make a ruckus out loud. And I like that because, you're standing on business and you're using, even when you mention, Eurocentric, use your white privilege to open these doors, and you're doing that. So in that aspect, and even in just like through creative arts and making sure that people have these opportunities and just keeping up with us, no matter how, hey, sorry for the delay, it don't even matter because you thought of me. You thought of me in that way. And to be thought of in that way and to be considered is such a beautiful love language in any shape or form. And so from all the inner parts of me and the different versions of myself who never felt seen, I do definitely feel seen from the both of you. And just in conversations you and I have had alone, you really do empower me, along with Ketsi and everybody that I've met at Mi Gente. And so if there was ever a story of just like things being catapulted, a lot of it I can say, since I've met you guys, I feel like I can do it. So it kind of like minimizes the imposter syndrome a bit because I'm like, hey, you guys think I'm pretty cool also? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just my son and I and the mirror and I. Okay, more people, cool. Yeah. But you are truly amazing, and it has been a pleasure to know you and continue to get to know you and keep doing what you're doing. You are doing something amazing that other people, not only myself, need in this world.
Thank you for being intentional.
Thank you for being you.
Yeah. Y'all gonna make me cry.
Shout out to your parents, porque de verdad rompieron.
My mama raised me proper. I definitely gotta thank my mom for that, and she always had it in her. You know, and we had I think one of the things that led me to this path too was I went to 6 elementary schools in 5 different countries. One of them was England, and we had a really racist teacher, this fat white woman that had the black kids and me at the back of the class and the white kids at the front. And we were sick of it. You know, she would just take these long bathroom breaks. And then I organized like a revolt in grade 6.
She was rioting since day one.
Brought all the kids out of the class, and we're walking to the principal's office. And as we were getting there, teachers were threatening us, and a bunch of kids were like drifting off. They were like, we started with a full class revolution. By the time we got to the principal's office, it was just me and this black kid, Woldy Mills. And he just showed up there to tell the principal that it was my fault. That was my first lesson in organizing. So I got home, and my mom, you know, got the call, obviously, and she was mad, but I told her what happened, and she's like, no, that's not right. This teacher shouldn't be doing that, and what do you mean you guys are sitting at the back of the class? And we didn't see that teacher. Like a few weeks later, we didn't see her for the rest of the school year. So it's I think it's a responsibility, and when you don't have to deal with the struggles that y'all have had to deal with, you know? And so, I encourage anyone that's not Afro-Latino listening, be meaningful, intentional allies and do what you can and at all times fight for justice, because it's not right, you know, that you decades later have to be protecting your son from what you went through, that you got to be looking at how to navigate the corporate world, and just accepting these things, you know, is not right. And I think I want to comment. You asked Zulekha for permission to touch your hair, you know, and I know that's something that I've seen white women do without asking for permission. And so I just wanted to go on the boundary side of it, because, again, we all need to learn. So are there any boundaries that you've had to develop for yourself that you need to make sure are respected, you know, as you walk through the world as Afro-Latina? And maybe if you want to start with why you even ask for permission when so many other people just freely touch without asking.
I think that's what it is. It's actually the person that I know in particular that I'm thinking of that does it to me means so well, but this is my personal property. It is on my body. You're touching me, and you didn't ask me if you can do that. And so it's almost like, what's the difference if I like touched you anywhere else on your body and not just your hair? Yeah. You just came up to me. Wow. I don't. Hold on. It's also energy transfer. You can't have just anybody touching your hair. Like, I'll joke, but I always say, like, a wig is a head wrap. Like, I'm protecting my crown because my actual head is not exposed. But I believe in energy transfer. I believe in autonomy. So if I didn't give you permission, or we're not like that unspoken consent, essentially, that you can touch me at your will, don't touch me. But there's like a fascination. Like, I have people who want to touch my hair. Like, wow, look how your hair does this twist. Well, not this hair. This ain't mine. I bought this one. But my hair, you know, look at your texture and how it does this and how it does that. And I'm like, one thing is you're curious because, you know, you're curious and you're appreciating it. Another thing is you're curious because you're just like, oh, why does it do that? And so that's why I wanted to ask permission, because it's your autonomy. Like, we can be cool in the ways that we are, and we can call each other hermana and prima and everything, but this is still, I still respect your space, and I don't want to just touch your hair and that's not something that you welcome or anything, like, it's important to have that autonomy. And I'm like that also as a whole. Like, don't speak to me a certain way. If you're not going to speak to your mother with that tone of voice, definitely don't speak to me in that tone of voice. Don't do something to me you definitely don't want me doing to you. If you don't want me to touch your hair and, oh, well, look at your nose and get, because I will.
Yeah.
Ay, mira esa nariz tan fina que tú tienes. ¿Cómo tú respiras? Oh.
Can you breathe with that little nose?
You know, like, it can go both ways. And I
Right.
feel like I've also gotten to a point where I'm like, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. And I just start returning it. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't like how it feels, maybe don't do it to me. And returning it back and just taking up space. I've been wearing my natural hair everywhere I go. Like, I don't care if it bothers you. That's you. I'm living my truth now. I'm a regular girl, and regular black girls do regular things every day. What is so fascinating about it? Appreciate, don't spectate, and poner mano where you're not welcomed.
Love that. How about you, Zulekha? Are there any boundaries, as Afro-Latina, as a black woman?
No, I mean, I concur with everything Shareé just said, just you don't feel entitled, to be in my space. And I love what she said as far as the transference of power, of energies and powers, because that do exist. So yeah, don't ask me any questions, educate yourself, don't assume, and I just hate ignorance. I hate ignorance. I hate racism. And I want others who are listening to empower yourself. As I'm empowered, I have been vulnerable enough to share that even in my late adulthood, as I'm getting older, I'm still learning, constantly educating myself. And I empower you guys to do the same. I appreciate this podcast because it allows our experience to be shared to others, to educate you guys. But please read the books, as we're still reading the books, still learning for ourselves, because as we're getting information, even though we're in, AI this and AI that, and we're getting information, it's also being easily erased. And there's books being banned. And we can go on and on and on. So just make it a point to empower yourself and don't touch my hair.
I love it. So we just got two last questions to wrap up. I think, what do you hope someone listening to you, Afro-Latinas listening to you, because this is what we want to center here today,
Correct.
get from this podcast, so that they feel less alone if they're feeling that way, that they feel validated, they feel seen, they feel heard? What do you hope they get after hearing this podcast conversation?
I'll have you start first.
Definitely that they feel seen, that there's someone else that had that experience in some shape or form, and even the fact that we're talking about it. Vulnerability truly sets you free.
Yeah.
Calladita does not ver más bonita. And a line from a poem that I have: El cuerpo grita lo que uno calla. So sacude. Let go of those rules that, first of all, there are no rules.
Yeah.
But let go of those like preconceived notions of how you're supposed to be, what things are supposed to look like. There's no rule book. Also, the way that society and everything has been built on is built on a lot of racism, sexism, it keeps going on. And so how do you really shape your identity and who you are based off of this false notion? Like, once you release what you think it's supposed to look like, one, you're going to be so much happier. Two, you're going to feel so much free. And so it keeps going back to when I say, for me, for you, I feel so free being able to have these conversations that I wasn't able to have before. And in me feeling that way, I'm empowering everybody else. So if we can have these conversations and let people see how vulnerable we are in sharing our experiences, I hope it inspires you to do the same. I hope it inspires you to be yourself, to create, to write, to share a story, even if it's just for yourself, to love yourself, even if it's 1% more than you did before you heard us. We're here for you. There's a sisterhood that exists. There's an experience that is one of our own, that no one else has that experience, I feel like, the way that Afro-Latinas do, with the ni de aquí, ni de allá, the in-between, and when you have that personal experience, it's a little different than someone else who doesn't have that telling you, hey, hermana mía, pana mía, like, we're here, you know, and this is why we do what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Zulekha?
Yeah, I mean, decolonize yourself and just empower yourself. And I just hope that this experience empowers you. Like I said, we're the same but equals in a sense, and we carry the same thread. So I hope this empowers others to just not be ashamed.
Yeah.
Do not be ashamed of your nose. Don't be ashamed of your skin tone. Don't be ashamed
And your hair
of
is
your
so
lips.
pretty.
And
Right now, your hair is so pretty.
Just don't be ashamed to be who you are, and just don't be afraid to just navigate through these spaces, and don't be afraid to ask questions, you know. And if your family has been silent for so long, ask those questions, like, why have you talked? You know, I didn't know about my history until as I was later an adult. So just don't be afraid to ask those questions, and to be like, what's the word? I'm curious, and continue to educate yourself, and, you know, follow Viva la Negra and Mi Gente Mi Pueblo and Zulekha Foulen and my Instagram handle, and just follow us, and let's connect, and let's.
What are the exact socials and websites? Start with you, Zulekha.
No website for Bridge the Gap just yet, but you can follow me at Zulekha, Zulekha Foulen, on Instagram, and Z Maria on Facebook.
And on my end, Viva la Negra's handle is Que Viva la Negra. Website is vivalanegra.me. And then I myself, the founder, my social media is I am Shareé Yveliz. Shareé being spelled Sharee. Yveliz being spelled Yveliz. I am Shareé Yveliz.
And the last question, I think a great way to end is, what does healing look like for y'all? When we talk about everything that we've talked about today, what are the things y'all do to heal? What's in your bundle to heal that might help others do the same?
Healing? I mean, this is healing.
Mm-hmm.
Having these conversations is healing. Being amongst community is healing. Creativity is healing. Dancing is healing.
Dancing.
Yeah, all of that is healing to me. I think we're doing it now. Yeah, so yeah.
And to add to that, dancing for sure, music plays a big part in everything. And those songs that you so wish somebody else might have dedicated it to you, dedicate it to yourself. Sing it to yourself while you're in the mirror. Incorporate music into your life, and just all of those things that, or even if it's just one thing that you used to like as a kid. I'm very big on childlike joy. I can't experience adult joy if I don't allow the little me who didn't get to experience these things either. So go color something, go cut something crazy, dance crazy in your living room in your socks with your hairbrush, and just, like, you know, literally release your inhibitions. Feel the rain on your skin.
Yeah, no,
We got a morning dance routine. Well, Shareé, Yveliz, Zulekha Maria Foulen, has been an absolute honor. I'm so thankful to y'all. And the Canada Council for making this happen, and Mi Gente Mi Pueblo for bringing us all together. And stay tuned, everybody. Much more to come. Dope.
Negra soy. Negra. Sí. Negra. Soy. Negra. 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 Negra soy. De hoy en adelante no quiero laciar mi cabello, no quiero. Y voy a reírme de aquellos que por evitar, según ellos, que por evitarnos algún sinsabor, llaman a los negros gente de color. ¿Y de qué color? ¡Negro! ¿Y qué lindo suena? ¡Negro! ¿Y qué ritmo tiene? ¡Negro, negro, 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 negro! Al fin comprendí. Al fin. Ya no retrocedo. Al fin. Y avanzo segura. Al fin. Avanzo y espero. Al fin. Y bendigo al cielo porque quiso Dios que negro azabache fuese mi color. Y ya comprendí. Al fin. Ya tengo la llave. Al fin.